And Srila Prabhupada, in his initial success of preaching in America, attracted some devotees who he aimed to be Brahmana. But then at a certain point, he began emphasizing Varnashram. And the more Brahmanically inclined devotees were questioning, why do we need Varnashram if we're Brahmanas? And Srila Prabhupada replied that to sustain your position, as well as to facilitate others who are not in that high of a position, we need Varnashram. Because Western civilization and all those who are following it are so immersed in the consequences of a plundering, technological, industrial world, that all the activities and occupations offered by such a society are Ugra Karma. And even though it may appear very desirable, and you see, Americans imitating Indians now, you see, and why should we struggle so hard trying to establish farm communities, which are a necessary step in pursuit of Varnashram, when we see our Indian godbrothers, they have their college degrees, which awards them these fine occupations and lucrative paychecks, and they don't work that many hours. So, we see Americans trying to imitate that, but the Americans don't have the support of a culture in which husband and wife are really committed to stay together, and then you have the resources of, grandmothers for babysitting and wisdom, and just a culture that gives you the support to be successful in any occupation. But that's also based on this multinational corporation plundering system. Basically, there's two kinds of civilizations in the world. There's agricultural, which produces their own needs, and then there's plundering, those who just go take from others. But never before has a society had such ability to plunder the resources of all the local economies in the world. Now, in a local economy, you don't take more than what that economy can sustain. So your future generations are guaranteed livelihood and sustenance. The multinational bankers hiding behind the scenes of these multinational corporations do not consider when to stop exploiting the local cultures. And with all their offers to give them wealth and give them loans for which they can purchase technological achievements and flourish in life, they always end up so indebted that they have to come back to the multinational bankers, and then they have to put up their land for the next loan. And when they can't come through with the payments, which are so manipulated to appear to be not violating the ancient covenants against usury, but are actually just expert at manipulating it, these people are forfeiting their land. So Srila Prabhupada wanted that we introduce Varnashram so that we could gradually divorce ourselves from the very imperceptible, subtle, but detrimental influences of this ravaging industrial complex. And who is really pulling the strings on this whole conglomeration? You read in the Srimad Bhagavatam how, after Kali, being given shelter by Maharaj Parikshit in the hoarding of gold and proliferating through the pretense that there is gold backing to the paper and plastic currency when there really isn't. Falsity, in which Kali really got a foothold in his age, and the dynasty of Kali began proliferating. We read in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and we see symptomatically the dynasties of Kali proliferating more today in the form of these multinational bankers who are exploiting and putting into debt all the rest of the world, who ends up forfeiting their seeds, their land, and not even having good water to drink. So never before has the world had the option, formerly we hear of such things as fratricidal war, but never before has there been the option of omnicide and geocide as we face today. Not to get in a doom and gloom mood or aspiration, because despite the very bleak predicament of the world today, if you look at it like the indigenous people, we need to hear from the mother people of the fatherland as well as the father people of the motherland. We need to understand the history of America before Columbus came to understand how this ecology was meant to work. And the indigenous people, they would evaluate any action today on how it would affect 7 generations down the line. So if you look 7 generations down the line, the prognosis looks extremely bleak. But we have great confidence from Srimad Bhagavatam that the earth has tremendous ability to heal herself of any inflictions if she is pleased to do so. And what pleases her? When her children are taking her gifts to use in sacrifice for the pleasure of Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada uses a term regarding Kali entering into first it was the gold currency and then proliferating into the multinational bankers. He uses this astute term, prostitution of wealth, which obviously means that kind of paper and plastic wealth will not stay with any man or give him any real satisfaction for long at all, just the illusion. But more deeply, prostitution of wealth means that kind of artificial opulence is not inclined to serve Krishna. It's not inclined towards sacrifice. And therefore the infatuation with such artificial lifestyle leads us where? You see, people who think they're really going to make it and pay back their loans and mortgages but aren't able, they end up going, you see in some towns, rows of stores that goes from the bank where you can't pay back your loan to the pawn shop where you sell off everything you have for a fraction of what it's worth, and next is the blood bank where you sell your blood. There are literal streets like that, but the figurative illustration and lesson is quite obvious.